Welcome back to Retrotainment Recast, the show where we bring a really good film from the old days and we try and recast it with some of the actors today and make it better or even the same level. Welcome back to the show. I'm back joined with Greg, our champion, returning champion. How are we, brother?
Le champion.
Yeah, here we go. And Ted, are you going to take your title back or what?
Well, if you two boys stopped cheating and brown enveloping, I wouldn't be losing the title every time, but there
brown
you go.
Envelope, you should send bigger brown envelopes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean,
that doesn't happen.
No. So we have an interesting one today. I decided with Untouchables. So
this might be one of the best movies we've done.
Yeah, it's a great film. I know it's good for a rewatch. You know, it's.
I'll tell you what, Kevin Costner, as good as Kevin Costner was in this, Sean Connery stole the show, didn't he?
Absolutely. Ted, how are you feeling about this one?
Happy with one or two, and then unhappy with kind of one or two as well. It's quite difficult to recast some of these roles. There was one, and when we get to it, I'll tell you, but I had a really good person down for it. And even when I put their name down, I was like, they're too old for that role now. They'd be perfect in their like mid-90s, but they're definitely too old to do it now. So I had to change that. And the one I changed to is probably a bit of a risk, but I definitely wouldn't have won with the person I had, because they're definitely too old.
Right, well, sure, let's see how it goes. There's no point in hanging around. Get your lists into the group chat there, please. And that's so as we know there's no shenanigans going on, and I will be the judge of that.
Mine's in there.
Sent in there now.
I will have my phone with me because long-time listener Tom sent us in one. This is a movie he pitched to me months ago to do. You should do the Untouchables. You should do the Untouchables.
And here we are.
And now we're here.
Yeah, so I have your lists in there. That's fine. So we'll go down. Will we start off with Catherine Ness?
I think so. Yeah, she's the smallest part of it.
Okay, champ, go first.
She's in it quite a bit though, as well, isn't she?
She is in it quite a bit, but like in terms of being integral to the storyline.
Yeah, she's not overly huge. Yeah,
she's not used a whole lot.
I actually went big enough here. I went for Emily Blunt.
Okay.
Straight in, no lube.
Straight in, no lube. Yeah.
Yeah, I went for someone a little bit smaller who does still have a bit of a name in kind of the acting, but not as big as Emily Blunt because, as we said, the character's quite small. I went with Emily Van Camp, who you would know more from. She was in the Marvel films, so she's Agent Carter's. I don't think she's the daughter. I think she's the granddaughter. Is it eventually?
I can't even argue about that because I have no clue who she is.
You'd know her from the Marvel films, like she's in Winter Soldier, or Falcon and Winter Soldier. She's the one that like is the crime boss down in the thing.
Okay, yeah.
She's Agent Carter's. I think it's granddaughter. The other way, like Agent Carter was in love with Captain America, and then he comes back unfrozen, and he's like hooking up with her. She's like the granddaughter. So she's not on that level of Emily Blunt, I wouldn't say, as a name recognition value, but she has enough name recognition there as well, like to be worthy of taking kind of that role.
Yeah.
So as I said, long-time listener Tom has a list. He sent us in one. He has Natalie Dyer from Stranger Things.
Yeah, it's another decent one there. Yeah,
I think she's a bit young.
Yeah,
that's kind of what I
well, it depends on what you go with for Kevin Costner and Elliot Ness, but for the minute, I would have said she's a bit young.
Well, I mean, it's also like Natalie Dyer. Well, I suppose she's probably in her mid-20s, is she? So
I don't know.
Yeah, it probably actually isn't that young. I was just thinking because they obviously have a daughter together who's kind of 3 to 4, I would guess.
Yeah.
So like you have to think about that, but maybe like I'm not sure what age Natalie Dyer is.
Okay, well, between the two he's picked, Van Camp is 36 and Blunt is 39. So there's not much there in that. Just for shits and giggles, I went with Sophie Turner.
I had thought of
Okay,
Sophie Turner. I had
Okay.
thought, but again, I was just like, yes, she may be just a little bit big of a name. I was trying to keep that name down because that's the way it was when they cast it here. But
I've kind of changed, so some of my picks are bigger names in different areas.
yeah,
Yeah.
I've done that a couple of times before as well. Yeah.
Well, and I think for that reason, I'm gonna go with Van Camp because it's not that big of a role.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think it'd be a waste of Emily Blunt in that role. But again, I like her, but not for that
Yeah.
particular role.
That's all right.
Okay, so Ted takes an early lead.
Oh yes.
Shot against the punch.
I know.
He's on the ropes. He's on the ropes.
So
Been on the
next,
ropes loads of times and come back swinging.
and he came back exactly.
Where's the end button?
End.
I'll win 1-0.
Ted has left the chat.
So next up, I'm going up the list the way we wrote the list out initially. I have Frank Nitti. Sound okay to go with?
Yeah, it's probably him or Capone really are next. Like as important as Capone is to this, and as big as an actor it was, he's actually potentially in it less than Catherine Ness.
Yeah, but I do think that
He's
needs to
far
be
more
cast
integral
as
to it.
yeah.
Oh, he's very integral to it. But do you know what I mean? Like as actual screen time goes, he actually might be in it less than all of them.
Yeah, well, I suppose he's kind of he's like the final boss, isn't he? Really, when you think about it.
But
So.
it's a mad how you're doing a film about Al Capone, and
Yeah,
I know
and
it's about the guys catching Al Capone, but like you're like, oh, we've got this really interesting character, like real life character of Al Capone, but let's use him as little as possible. Like incredible.
There's the question though, right? Is it a movie about Al Capone?
No,
not really. It's a movie about Elliot Ness.
It's a movie about Elliot
and
Ness
the group of the guys that he had.
captures Al Capone, but I mean the whole point is that they're after Al Capone.
Oh yeah,
So
absolutely.
most times you'd be like, well, they're after Al Capone, so we better use Al Capone as much as we can. But they went away from that, which worked really well. Like
I think it did. Yeah.
Arguably at that time, he's one of the top 3 actors on the planet. De
Oh
Niro,
yeah,
Pacino,
absolutely.
and Nicholson.
Yeah, easily up there. Yeah. Frank Nitti, this was kind of a tough one because it's one of those actors that's very recognizable, but always kind of in those side roles, never a leading man sort of thing. So I was batting a few names around here. So one of them I had was Colin Farrell, but I just think he's too big for that role now at this point.
Yeah.
Another one I had was Theo Rossi. Theo Rossi's kind of a slighter build and a smaller character, and I felt Frank kind of needs to be a bit taller, a bit more intimidating. So I went for someone I've used once before, and it backfired on me then because the judge didn't know the character I was talking about. He knew the actor, but not the character I was talking about. I went with Ben Barnes.
That really backfired, and that one I actually
I'd
nearly given it up.
Yeah, it was the perfect choice for the one I put him into. He was absolutely perfect for her. But
I wasn't
Sherlock,
conceding that because it would have cost me.
It would have cost you, and Sherlock just hadn't seen The Punisher, so he didn't know Ben Barnes as that character.
I know who he is. Yeah. Greg, yeah.
Do you know what? Farrell probably would have been a great choice maybe 10 years ago when he was on the downslide. I only had one name here though. I went with Walter Goggins, Ted's favourite.
I do like Walter Goggins.
I like Walter Goggins.
Big unit. Can be intimidating. Although when you look at him in Sons of Anarchy and he plays a transgender prostitute, you're like, well. But then you watch him in the likes of Predators and stuff. And he's a bad man.
Yeah.
I think you played that part quite well.
Yeah.
I think I'll go for Goggins on that one.
You're going for Goggins?
Yeah, although Ben Barnes is a good choice as well. He is great in Daredevil. Punisher. Punisher.
Tom picked Walter Goggins here.
Yeah, I can't argue against Walton Goggins. I really like him as an actor and stuff. I think he does fit into those roles very well.
Very underrated.
Very underrated.
Yeah, well, he's starting to get recognition now, so hopefully in the next kind of
He
couple
seems
of
to be
years.
around for fucking years as well, doesn't he?
Yeah, but he's starting to get that recognition now, so hopefully we'll start to see him picking up a bit.
Just I had picked. No, I didn't. I found this one hard to pick.
Yeah,
So I picked someone who would probably be too old for it now, but it was just that kind of style of actor. I was thinking someone on the lines of Gary Sinise.
Oh, what a show. Lieutenant Dang.
Yeah.
probably
So
a bit too old.
that's
though,
yeah.
he
So
probably-
that's
He
why
doesn't look old though, really. He's in
No.
one of those shows that now he watches the NCIS or one of them now. He still doesn't look old. He doesn't look like he's
No.
aged too much.
no. So so someone along those lines, I would have gone with and if I was probably in the competition, I probably would have pushed it a bit further. But this is what I'm at for now.
Yeah,
I mean, like it's not a bad choice. I don't think he's ever been used either.
I don't think so, but I think just for that role, probably he's kind of like the right. He's like the right hand man of Capone, sort of thing. Your right hand man's not going to be someone that much older than
No.
Yeah.
No. So like that about 10, 20 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, maybe 10, 20 years ago, he's been brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so look, it levels it up one each. Nice one. Here we go.
Going against the punch here. It still favours Ted.
Oh, here
Oh,
we
Ben
go.
Barnes, he never does me well.
I'll tell you what though, when you done that the first time, I was like, yeah, that's me in
Yeah.
trouble here.
Yeah.
Then like if you go back and watch that video, ladies and gentlemen, the look on my face shows it all. I was like, oh no. And then when Carl said he hadn't seen it, I was like, yes, victory was within grasp.
What made it worse is that we'd used John Bernthal loads of times, like kind of coming up to that. And I was like, the only thing I really know John Bernthal from is The Punisher. Like, that's what I know him from. And then Sherlock was like, I've never seen The Punisher. I was like, where the fuck do you know John Bernthal from then?
Wolf of Wall Street and stuff.
Walking Dead, probably.
Yeah,
Walking Dead.
Right,
Anyway.
so do you want to go with Al Capone next then, or what? What do you think, boys?
I think with the name, you'd hold him till the end.
No, hold him to the end. I was just saying, in terms of screen time, he was quite
screen
smart.
time. Screen time, he probably goes first.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Well,
probably
look,
Wallace, Stone.
I would say Wallace, because Andy Garcia has an important enough part in this as well.
Yeah,
Good actor as well, isn't he?
Mm-hmm. I found it hard to fucking replace him.
yeah.
We'll go with Oscar Wallace.
Right, Oscar Wallace.
Wallace.
I had two names down for this, right? First name I had was Paul Walter Hauser, Stingray from Cobra Kai, and I just never really settled on it. But I changed it to Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who can kind of play the funny, actiony kind of guy as well. Obviously, when he's out in the gunfight in Canada and stuff. I like Gordon-Levitt. He's a good actor. He's not too big of a name either. Like Garcia's a big name. What acting? Yeah,
we're doing Wallace now, not Garcia. You know that, yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Wallace isn't Garcia. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah, I still have Gordon-Levitt as Wallace.
Yeah, grand.
Sorry, Garcia is Stone. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he stepped away. He was massive in the at the forefront.
When he said to
ago.
become Robin, and everyone was like, yeah. And then he obviously done a couple of movies where he directed them as well.
Yeah,
but he's starting to come back into it now, which is good to see.
Good actor.
Yeah, good actor.
Okay.
So this is the one I was saying earlier, that when I watched the film, I was like, right, I already know who I'm putting here. And then when I put it down, I was like, no, that can't be right. He's way too old. Because the first name I had down here was somebody you boys would be very aware of as well, in Rick Moranis. I think Rick Moranis in the early 90s would have been absolutely perfect for that role. But
would he have been just that? You can't picture Rick Moranis doing the action bit, to be honest.
I was kind of thinking of him from Ghostbusters. Do you know where he's the accountant and he's real hyper focused on this, that, and the other, and then you're kind of like,
yeah, you
need to do a few little action scenes where you shoot a gun and this, that, and the other. But even the whole time he's doing that, he's bloody talking about, we can get him for the tax evasion, the whole time. And I was like, that is Rick Moranis, perfect. But then I was like, isn't Rick Moranis supposed to be in his 50s or 60s now.
60s,
yeah.
easy.
Yeah,
Like
and I was like,
Good to see him coming back to Hollywood as well.
it is
Yeah,
great to see him
absolutely.
come back, but I was like, I can't put, it's not like the accountant needs to have that, but again, there is those bit of action scenes. And I was like, I don't think you're getting a 60-year-old in there, and he has to be younger than my Jim Malone. Like Jim Malone has to be kind of the old dog on the force. So I was like, I can't have him be 60. Then my Jim needs to be like 80.
Yeah.
I was like, geez, I can't do that. So I moved away from that. One of my backups was Jonah Hill.
Okay.
Who was kind of taken to being a little bit more of a serious actor, but can still do that.
Tell you what, he was very good in War Dogs. It was a War Dogs, where he's the gun dealer.
Yeah,
and he's like, yeah, I enjoyed that. Now I think he's starting to step into those kind of roles.
Yeah, but I went for someone who hasn't really done a role like this, where there's kind of that little bit of comedy. But I think when you see him, you're kind of like, yeah, he could be the kind of nerdy guy that was just hyper focused on getting him on tax, but also can look after himself. I went with Paul Dano.
Okay.
Who's starting to make a bit of a name for himself, but isn't so huge that you'd be like, he's overshadowing the other people here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, funny enough, Ted, I went for Jonah Hill, believe it or not. I think he plays the like in the Wolf of Wall Street as well. You know.
I mean, that's probably a good show, and I wouldn't mind. I only watched that one where he was the arms dealer, and he goes out in that scene when he's on the sidewalk with the lads, and they try and rob him, and he goes off and comes back with the AK.
Yeah, I like Paul Dano in that role, I have to say. Who'd you got again, Greg? Just remind me.
Who'd I got?
Yeah.
I had Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah, who I also like, but I could see Dano doing that.
Who did Tom have in there actually, Greg?
I'm just getting that up now. Where are we? Ooh, Wallace, wasn't it? Harry Melling. Is in that new Pale Blue Eye with the Edgar Allan Poe one on Netflix. I haven't seen it, so I don't know who he is.
I know who Harry Melling is. I haven't seen Pale Blue Eye, but I know who Harry Melling is.
He's good. I watched Pale Blue Eye, it's very good. And he's good.
I do know who he is. Yeah.
I still would have went for Paul Dano in that. That's just.
Yeah, it's a good. I can't even argue against it. It's a good show.
Yeah.
You know him from the Harry Potters, Greg.
I know him from the Ballad of Buster Scruggs. Is where I know him from.
You know,
what a film, Buster Scruggs.
Greg knows him from the Harry Potters. Greg loves Harry Potters.
Yeah.
No, with that.
There's everything.
No, Greg hates them, but he's seen all 7 films or all 8 films, as I keep reminding him.
When you've kids, you have to.
I'm on 3. I'm on 3 times. I've seen them all now.
Oh God, no.
I've seen them all way more than that. I love Harry Potter.
Right, so Ted, you're 2-1 up. Where played?
Yeah, that's the one I was happy with, Paul Dano. But that's the one where I was like, Rick Moranis straight away, boys. And I was like, oh, actually, it can't be Rick Moranis.
Even if we did this in the early 90s, I don't think Rick Moranis gets cast in this movie. It's too serious for him.
I think I'd agree with you on that, Greg.
Possibly, yeah.
Great actor. There's absolutely no doubt he's a great actor.
Yeah, it might have been too serious, but I was just like, I was thinking of him as the accountant, and then him from Ghostbusters as like he fits into that.
He can be more of a slapstick kind of more so, or I don't know. Anyway, some of it, yeah. Let's go with. You want to go with George Stone or Al Capone?
It has to be Stone.
I think it's Stone.
Okay. Ted, I think it's you, is it?
Yeah, it's on to me. So this one was very tough. My backup was Tanner Buchanan, because I was trying to stay kind of young, because this guy's meant to be, a young hotshot out of the
academy or whatever.
Out of the academy. But I felt Tanner Buchanan was maybe still a bit too young, even for that. And that I kind of struggled then after that, because I was like, I want someone who's got a bit of a name to themselves already, but also wouldn't be the biggest name in Hollywood just yet. Now, I went with someone who has been, who was a big name in Hollywood last year, but just for one film. And this is probably the one I'm least happy with. I went with Miles Teller here. I think he has
No.
George Stone has that kind of arrogance in himself that, he can just do anything. And I was like, I think Miles Teller could portray that quite well, but it's the one I'm least happy with here.
Do you know something? Before I tell you mine, I'm going to say I wouldn't think Teller would take that, being the offset character. Teller's more of a Elliot Ness in this.
Possibly, yeah.
For me, Andy Garcia was 32 or 33, I think, doing it.
31, yeah.
31. I went a little bit older. I went with Oscar Isaacs here. I think he fits into that role quite well. I know he's 42 or 43, but he doesn't look it at all. You could turn around and say he's 35 and then, yeah. And I think he'd fit in perfectly, especially the swagger that Andy Garcia has in it as well. Isaacs carries himself quite similarly.
Yeah, that's all I was kind of really thinking of. I was trying to think, of it Italian American actors, but I was like, I don't really know anyone who fits into that Italian American role.
Thing isn't even Italian American. He's fucking Cuban.
Cuban, yeah.
No, but I'm saying the character is Italian American. Do you know what I mean? So I was trying to think of someone who could fit into that, and I was like, it's not really an actor.
Again, maybe 10 years ago, Colin Farrell fits it.
No, Colin Farrell wouldn't be Italian American.
I think he could do that accent. He's brilliant. Carl, why are you changing colours here?
I don't know. Hit off the wire off my light. Sorry, boys.
That just indicated on where Carl's going there. Didn't like that. Went red.
So, like that, I was trying to think of somebody younger. But again, I found it a bit hard to find someone similar to Garcia.
Yeah.
So I went with Tony Revolori from Spider-Man. He played Flash Thompson.
He's probably a bit too young.
That's right. When I've put him down, but you could see him possibly playing it, but yeah, bit too young.
That's what I did with Tanner Buchanan. I was like, he's possibly a bit too young here. Like
maybe 5 years or so for Tanner or so.
A couple of more years for Tanner, yeah. But I was like, he's maybe just a little bit too young, and that's why I was kind of like, right, I can't use him, and I just struggled from there.
Actually, looking at it, Tom had a great pick here. He had Dylan O'Brien.
Yeah, Dylan O'Brien's a decent one, yeah.
Well, look, I mean, I can't go with Miles Teller because he was a backup for someone else.
Yeah, I can see him being a
backup. He's not going to be your Elliot Ness then.
No.
I can see him being a backup for Elliot Ness as well, but I just figured I went for someone who I think is a bigger name already.
Yeah, and
so I kind of figured if this person's that big a name, maybe he takes, this second, because this is also a very meaty role.
It is. Yeah. But I do like the swagger that Oscar Isaacs does have.
He just carries himself, doesn't he?
I think he could do that bit. So I'm going with Greg on that one.
Fair enough.
2-2 against the punch again.
Yeah.
I have to hold one here, lads. Someone has to hold one. Otherwise, Ted goes down. Otherwise, I go down.
You go down. I went down.
Go down.
I go down.
You lose if we keep going here, so I'm happy to keep going this way.
Right, let's go with Al Capone. So,
right, Capone, easily the biggest name in the film.
Yeah.
People will say Sean Connery. Sean Connery was the best in the film.
Sean Connery was on his way up. He was probably the second biggest name in the film at the time.
What do you mean on the way up? He was coming off being James Bond and everything.
Yeah.
Sean Connery was huge.
Yeah, but I mean in terms of being the actor name.
Oh, he still had name value.
Sean Connery was huge.
No, he was, but I'm saying De Niro was already above him. Do you know what I mean? He was still working his way
De Niro
up.
had won an Oscar.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. He was working his way up to being De Niro, but he wasn't there yet. Do you know what I mean?
Right. A couple of names really here. Christian Bale was one. I think he can kind of do anything, can't he?
Yeah, he's a chameleon.
Tom Hardy was another one. I think he'd be brilliant. I'd love to see him as Al Capone, especially after seeing him play the Cray twins.
But that accent would have come to him easy, being in a London accent or whatever, you know what I mean? But he could probably pull off the Al Capone accent anyway.
But I have someone in here that we've mentioned already. I have Colin Farrell here. Under the prosthetics to make him look like Al Capone, he can do anything.
Mm-hmm.
I went with someone who is a very big name. I only had one name for a huge name in Hollywood, but you know, so was De Niro at the time, and for the small role, I went with DiCaprio. I think DiCaprio would do it. Like, again, the man's a chameleon; he can do anything he wants. Do you know what I mean?
The only thing I'll say is I don't see DiCaprio taking that small of a role. Now I know he'll do anything, and I don't want.
Would you have seen De Niro?
I'd say. So
That's
De
true.
Niro was in the middle of filming 2 other films when he took this.
Yeah, but
That was the reason it's so small of a role.
But DiCaprio could be doing the same thing. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely, there's no doubt to that. But I can't see him signing on.
I think that work ethic would be similar as well. So he possibly could. Yes.
Yeah.
But to be honest with you, fellas, I had on this was the first one I cast when I saw it was Colin Farrell. I put Colin Farrell in there. It was the only one I wanted to see. After seeing him playing Penguin, I had to. So
yeah, no, it's not that he's a bad show. I just I was just like the first name I thought I was like DiCaprio, and I was like,
which is a good show. Don't get me wrong.
Kind of like who's beating DiCaprio? You know, when you're talking De Niro level actor at that point, I was like, DiCaprio.
I'd say if we didn't have Colin Farrell in there, you know, that would have been a close second possibly. So
Tom had Tom Hardy.
Right. So we're all kind of in the same kind of.
A lot of love for Tom Hardy.
And he is lovely, in fairness.
I did like Tom Hardy a lot, but those Venom films have soured him.
I only seen the first one, and I don't particularly want to see the second one.
I told you not to watch the second one because I thought the second one was going to be very good with the cast. With the cast they had.
I mean, you also told me to watch Crawl, Ted.
Yeah, but that's because I wanted you to suffer through that. This one, I was like, don't watch this. It's got Woody Harrelson's got everything in it, and it's still dog shit. Like,
yeah, it was awful. And for me, that's hard because I'm a Venom fan. So,
right, lads, this is going to be the issue now, right? Is it going to be Ness next, or is it going to be Malone?
Ness is last. Ness is the hero.
Ness has to be last. Yeah, absolutely. So let's go with Jim Malone.
Yeah,
I'm intrigued with this one. I'm intrigued to see how he's picking this one.
So I kind of Irish based is where I went for this.
Yeah.
I had 2 names here, and I was flip flopping between them. I ended up with Liam Cunningham as my backup, and Brendan Gleeson as my main. Just that rough and tumble bastard of Brendan Gleeson.
Definitely made the mistake there.
I don't think so. I think Brendan Gleeson's got that kind of bastard, like rough and tumble bastard bit to him over Liam Cunningham.
Oh, I definitely think if you had to switch those now, I think you'd have been onto a winner, I'd say.
I see Cunningham
doesn't have as big a name though. That's the only thing.
Yeah, and I don't see Cunningham as the. Do you know, like when you see Malone scrapping out in the street and stuff?
That scene when he gets killed, brilliant.
The scene where he gets killed, but you know when he's out in the street scrapping with the police officer. I was like, that's more Brendan Gleeson's style of those kind of scrappy kind of bits, and like the crazy bit where he shoots the dead guy out through the window to get the other guy to talk. I was like, that's more Brendan Gleeson than it is Liam Cunningham.
But those two, yeah, it is. But yeah.
So for me, I had one first name that went down, and I said to you just before I came on, when I checked to make sure, he's actually retired. So I had to go with my backup. So I had to do the old switcheroo. Daniel Day-Lewis was my pick.
Yeah, I've wanted to use him a couple of times.
Which would have been brilliant.
Yeah.
The thing with Day-Lewis
he is retired now.
The thing with Day-Lewis is he's been retired a couple of times. It's when a role comes by that he is like, oh no, I want to do that. He'll come out of retirement, but until then, he won't.
Jim Sheridan gave him his perfect role in 2017, and he's turned it down. So he's officially fully retired.
Yeah, he says that, but like he kind of said that before. I think if something came along that he really, really wanted to do, he might come out. But we can. That's just speculation. Do you know what I mean? We have to assume that he is retired.
Yeah. That was it. Like his role as Bill the Butcher.
Yeah, he would have been brilliant there, but unfortunately,
couldn't use him. So then I was thinking, do I put Kevin Costner in and bring him back as Jim? Could be very good. It's not. The easy pick for me was Liam Neeson here. I put him in as a backup because I was so happy with Day-Lewis.
Day-Lewis.
And I was like, yeah, all right, fuck it, I'll just put him in.
Yeah, I had thought of Neeson myself, but I kind of pulled away from him a bit just because of his age.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was the only thing that I backed away from him on. Now I know there's only a couple of years between him and Gleason, but I think Gleason probably looks that little bit younger somehow.
I don't think so. If you've seen him in the Banshees of Inisherin, he definitely does not.
No, well, he's meant to be aged up, and he's meant to be.
I know, but he
meant to be
looks
looking
haggard. I know he's
Yeah.
thinking that, but
Yeah.
no, I was like, as I said, I was extremely happy with Day-Lewis, and I think he would have taken the point off anybody.
Yeah, well, I probably would have put him there as well, except I went to use him for something else before, and I was like, oh no, shit, he's retired.
Tom went with one of my favorites here. He went with Josh Brolin.
Yeah, I can see Josh Brolin doing it as well. It's just the Irish connection, I think.
Yeah. You need someone.
I wouldn't mind. It's an Irish connection, and Sean Connery isn't Irish.
Scottish.
I know, yeah, but he's close enough.
Yeah. Well, look, we're all very similar here. My backup was Colin Meaney. Might be a bit old.
No,
maybe,
that's fine. I would have been happy with Colin
Yeah.
Meaney there as well. Yeah.
But I went with Liam Neeson.
As I said,
lads.
I wasn't thing like I wanted Day-Lewis, and you'll see it on the notes that I sent in.
Yeah.
I actually had to move him to backup, and I left him in backup entirely because of it, and I have it in as retired.
Yeah.
It is there.
For me, Liam Neeson, I just put in as it was kind of a lazy pick. It was the easy pick, really.
Yeah, no, I had thought about him, but I didn't feel he fit that role.
And I couldn't really. I didn't have time really to flick around and find someone else.
Yeah, I
was literally on the call.
Yeah, I had thought of Neeson myself, but I just said, like, when I was looking at him, I was like, I just don't think he's.
Oh, he would be. He'd be that cranky fucking Irish lad, you know. No problem mixing it up on the streets, you know.
Yeah, but he's 70 is kind of what I'm thinking. You know, like he's still meant to be officially on the force, and that's what I was thinking. I was like, the man's 70.
He doesn't entirely look 70.
Liam Neeson's starting to look a bit older now.
I mean, if you've seen Banshees of Inisherin, I know he's aged up a little bit, but Gleason doesn't look like he'd be on the force neither.
No, but Gleason's always looked like that. You know what I mean? Gleason's always looked a bit fucking haggard and
scruffy.
Yeah, that's kind of what Jim Malone is, you know, scruffy and like always down for the scrap. And I was like, that's Gleason. Gleason is always down for a scrap.
I'm so sad. I need to get in contact with Daniel later. Just say, take the retired off your page, whether you're acting or not, so that we can use you in recast.
Right.
Because you've used quite a bit. It's
there's been a few times where I've wanted to use him, but yeah, as he's retired.
This is the first time I actually sat down and went, yeah.
No, I think there was one or two roles where I wanted to put him in, and I was like, he's fucking retired, though I can't use him.
Right, so I think that's the game, but we'll do we'll do Elliot Ness anyway for
have to finish out,
of course.
I have a feeling I'm gonna lose this one. I went a little bit bolder here. It's me anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, it is you.
Yeah.
Before I give you mine, I'll give you Tom's. Right? Tom went with Miles Teller here.
Right.
Which probably would be a good show. Might be a little too young, maybe. I think. Oh no, sure, Teller's in his 30s, isn't he?
Yeah, he's around the same age that this was, but.
My backup, I have Chris Evans.
It's
pretty solid. But I tried something different here. I went with Evan Peters. Because Costner's very stern in this. And I went with him off the back of Dahmer and a couple others. I thought, I'll try something. I'll throw him in and see. He's kind of at that same level. Costner was starting out big here.
Yeah.
Big role. Evan Peters has had a couple of big movies. Dahmer's obviously his big break. So maybe coming into something like this would take off for him.
Okay.
Yeah. So I had a couple of people I was kind of batting around. One, originally I had Zac Efron kind of as a thought, and then I was like, geez, he'd have to lose a lot of weight because he's after bulking up massive for that Terry Von Erich thing. I was like,
Oh, he's huge now, isn't he?
I was like, geez, he'd have to lose a severe amount. And like, even though like he's always been, big, but like
Big.
he's huge now.
He's nearly double the weight that he was when he done Baywatch, and he was in some shape for that.
That's what I mean, yeah. Another backup I had was Richard Madden, who I think we've used once or twice before.
That's a good show.
Yeah. Robert Pattinson was there.
Okay, yeah, it's a good show as well.
But I actually, you'll probably take this point because Kaz already said his feelings on it, but I actually did go Chris Evans here. When you think of Captain America, the goody, toe the line, I don't care what you boys think. If you like a drink or not, you can't because we're the law. And like, debating with himself whether he crosses that line and stuff, which is like Captain America eventually has to do that with Bucky and stuff. Does he stick with Tony or does he help his old friend and stuff like that? I was thinking he fits in there very well, and the kind of stern thing, he can do that stern bit quite well as well.
I just kind of like, he was the first name that I put down.
Yeah, same as me.
Again, it was the easy name, really.
I'd say about 5 minutes into the film, I went, that's Chris Evans.
I think it's the hair, isn't it?
I think it's the hair and the kind of the good boy act, where I was like when he does that speech, when he does that speech where he's like, you may all enjoy a drink, but that's it, that you have to cut that out because we're the law and we can't enforce the law if we're breaking the law, sort of thing. I was like, that's fucking Captain America there.
I had Miles Teller as a backup.
Yeah,
and I'm right, I didn't keep that. Yeah. I went with Taron Egerton because I think he's a really good actor and I think he could do it well.
Ironically, up until yesterday,
you had Taron, did you?
I had Taron as one of my picks. I had a couple of names wrote around. I have Chris Evans there, and stuff. I was like, no. I was lying there talking to Zoe the other day, and she said something about Evan Peters, and I was like, do you know what? He could be a very good take for Kevin Costner.
Yeah. His name's starting to build, though, is the thing. He hasn't. Yeah. He's not a huge name.
Costner was the same, though.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm just saying that because you've used different names in certain places. Like nowadays, I think you'd use one of your big names for Elliot Ness. You know what I mean?
I think I'd say so. Yeah, you'd blow big on the big name.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not mad about either of those picks myself. If I was gone, I think Chris Evans is going to take that one.
I thought so. Like I just says, you'd see on the thing there,
risk,
I have Evans down.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see something different. I thought you're going to have probably most likely have Chris Evans. I think I'll try steal the point somewhere. I thought Evan Peters might have, but
well,
I'm thinking myself now if I had lost.
If you don't take the risk, then you
don't reap the reward.
Yeah, you have to take those risks. Like as I said, that's what I did with Miles Teller. I was kind of like, I don't really have anyone there, and I was like, would Miles Teller take the role to be second to Chris Evans in a film where he's one of the only two survivors? And I was like, he probably does take that role if he's, and like based off my list where he's getting to work alongside DiCaprio as Al Capone and Brendan Gleeson as Jim Malone. I was kind of thinking, he'll take that role. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, there we go, fellas. 4-3 in the end.
Yeah.
It was a good match.
I am untouchable.
It was a very good match, I have to be honest.
Yeah. It was an enjoyable battle. That one could have went anywhere. Like I was quite happy to swing. I thought Oscar Isaac would have taken it. I thought it would have been hard to beat.
Yeah.
Goggins was one that I was like, do you know what? If Ted was the judge, I'd probably guarantee the point here. But I was delighted when he came off. I thought Colin Farrell would have picked it off, and I thought you would have had Colin Farrell. So when you mentioned him earlier on in the show, I was like, yes.
Yeah, no, I had Colin Farrell there, and then I was like, too big a name for that now. Like that's Colin Farrell 10 or 15 years ago. Do you know what I mean?
What, for Capone?
No, for Nitty. That's Farrell 10 or 15 years ago. That's wrong for him now.
And I think he's Capone now. He has to be. Well, look, I mean, normally the loser picks next week's episode, but I got an interesting message there on me. You probably saw me on my phone there looking at a message, and it was from Sherlock. Okay.
Oh, right.
What's that sick note want?
Yeah,
Fuck
Signal
him.
wants back in. Okay.
Big note
And,
Sherlock,
fuck
is it?
well, look, I'm still the judge until we go off air. I'm gonna say, right, he can come back next week, and he's gonna judge, and he is gonna judge a film called Hercules. Okay.
We've seen
But
two
not,
of them.
but
One
not.
of them was The Rock, and it was shy.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
But what he wants to do is make a live action version of the Disney Hercules. So, yep, that's what he wants to do. So I'm going to allow it as my final decree before I take my week off.
Oh, so we're doing the cartoon Hercules in real life.
Yes,
Yeah, Disney have been doing a lot of that, so yeah.
let's beat them to the punch with this one then. How about that?
There's going to be a lot of fucking CGI in that movie. Sure,
I think so.
Hades would be fully CGI nearly.
You would.
Well, you have
Well,
to see
you know-
which way, like, you know.
Well,
Yeah.
let's be fair. Okay, we know. Okay, so we've been given Hercules, right? You know, Hades is going to be in it.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
going to be one of the main seven. He has to be.
Oh yeah, I'm just trying to think. Can they get around CGI with costume? Maybe.
Well, sorry. So I suppose maybe Hades does. They just take his head on fire out.
Oh well, like you could do, you know, just put that in as the CGI. Just.
Oh no,
the-
that's what I'm talking about. Like that's.
oh,
what
sorry. Yeah, I get you. Yeah.
Because obviously his
Alright.
head's on fire.
That's going to be. So
Um,
who's that next week? He's
That's you.
judging.
You and Greg.
Oh, lovely. Yeah.
We're gonna go 1-on-1 with the great one.
Mm. Soulless wonder, huh? Lovely.
I mean, I just slated the Rock's movie, and then I just stole one of his lines.
All right. Well,
Let's
I
be
think.
fair though, Hercules was shite though.
Yeah. Well, we'll make it better next week. Don't worry. Well, there we
Right,
go.
well,
Thanks
the
again
chat
for
carries on.
yeah. What are you now? 2 on your run?
No,
2 now, yeah.
one.
Win,
Is it 2?
won it.
Oh no, yeah, sure.
2.
1 win and 2 wins, 2 defenses.
Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. Well done.
And it's further
It was
away,
a,
lads.
that was a great episode, lads. I have to say, back and forth like 2 heavyweight boxes.
I
back
mean,
and
right
forth.
up until pick 5, was it?
Yeah.
It went against everything.
Yeah, it was
I lost my
DiCaprio.
choice.
DiCaprio lost it. I lost DiCaprio, then I lost Gleason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once I got it back though, it was gonna be a tough.
Yeah, once you pulled ahead, it was always going to be tough to.
Yeah. Well, I think
I
we're
mean,
done for now.
Good picks in there.
Oh yeah. Ted, you like to end this show?
Yeah, so as usual, always don't forget to like, share, follow all that good stuff on this channel here, and of course for the boys over on the slab, don't forget there, where they discuss horror, and they've had a lot of big guests recently, and I know
More to come.
I won't give any names away, but I know there's a few more in the can as well, ready to be put up. So
Sausages to that.
so don't forget to like, share, and follow the boys over there as well. And until next week, good luck.
Peace.